So what's up guys, my name is Chris and today we're going to be changing the brakes on a 2010 Audi A4. The pads and rotors that you're going to see me change today, I actually have a link in the description. So if you want to just go there, you can click that and you'll know that for sure the parts that you're buying online are going to work on your car. The car has S4 wheels on it, but it is in fact an A4. Things you're going to need to start with are a jack, obviously some jack stands just to be safe. Depending on whether or not you are doing the rear brakes, there is kind of a sketchy way to put your electronic e-brake back in and get the pistons to go in on the rear without using the computer and a VAGCOM. I did not want to do that, so this is the VAGCOM cable, and here's obviously my computer. Front rotors, these are the rear, and then I have some semi-metallic brake pads which are a little bit better than stock. And here's Shane, who's going to be helping today. Also some brake cleaner, because when these rotors come out they're going to have some oil on them, just so they don't rust. So you're going to want to spray them down and get that off. Normal tool set should be fine. Don't forget that you're going to need some Torx, then just some regular tools I have here. And obviously for the front brakes we're going to need a C-clamp to push the piston back in. So first we're going to start by just jacking up the front end here. Alright, so we've got this jacked up. Obviously put it as close to the where the front fender is right here, right on the pinch weld. Then I put a jack stand under here, pretty much right where the lower control arm connects to the front subframe. I didn't have it all the way up in there, there's no weight on there. I'm going to leave the jack here and just kind of leave that jack stand there for safety. I'm just going to get the lug nuts off and take this front wheel off. Sometimes you got to give it a little kick. We actually just put the key in the car, turn the wheel all the way to the right. It's going to make this a lot easier to access here. So we're working on the driver's side right now. You're going to want to point the wheel towards the passenger side. Also pop the hood, because eventually once we are pushing the pistons back in here, we're going to want to, well, we can do it right now. Just take this cap off of the brake fluid reservoir, just because the fluid's going to be pushed back up through there. Another thing, once I got the tire off now, I'm going to reposition this jack stand. I had it on the lower control arm. This is just a personal preference, but I do like having it right where this subframe is kind of connected. It's a nice little spot there in case the car comes down. It'll be supported there. Alright, so these ones that are on the sliders here, these are actually 13 millimeters. So we're going to take both of these off. Alright, I'm super greasy because the axle's bad here, but you're going to want to take your wear sensor. You can leave it in the bracket here. Just unplug this first, and then I'll put it back the way it was. But, okay, of course I can't get it there now. But this thing's going to be straight up and down in this little hole there. You just kind of push it out and down. Just twist this, and then it should slide right out of that bracket like that, no problem. Alright, so another thing we got to take off is going to be this clip. Pretty much what you're going to do is just push it up that way, and it should come off. There we go. So now this caliper should come off. Alright, so caliper's off. Here's these pretty worn brake pads. I'm going to leave this guy in there for now because it might help me out when I go to press that cylinder back in. Obviously you're not going to want to let this caliper hang by this brake line. You're going to want to maybe put it in here on the control arm, or even you can grab some rope or a bungee cord or something and just kind of hang it here for now. Next we're going to take the caliper bracket off here. It's a 21 millimeter. Alright, Alright, so I actually moved the jack out of place here just so I can get this big bar on it and get some more leverage, because these are actually really, really tight. Well, we got the bracket off now on the two 21mm bolts. Next, we're gonna get this Torx off. I'll find out what size in a second. We'll get this rotor off. So this one right here is actually a T30. I always like to take it, just because sometimes these get pretty stuck in there, before I like to just grab it and hit it with a hammer a little bit. Look at that, nice and easy. All right, and now your rotor should be ready to come off. So as you can see by all the marks here, you're gonna have to smash it with a hammer pretty good. These things tend to sit on there pretty well, especially when they've been on here. I think I've gotten 70 or 80,000 miles out of these brakes. So yeah, take the old rotor off. And now I'm gonna grab the caliper and push the cylinder back in on it. So I left this pad on because obviously this the brake piston right here has a hole in it, and this is just a nice service to put this clamp on here. So spin the clamp around, and just leave that pad in there so we can push this piston back in. All right, and then this sensor here, you're actually gonna have to take and put onto your new brake pads. So as you can see, these were pretty smoked. They were definitely getting there. All right, so now we're gonna wanna take the wear sensor off the old pad and put it on the new one. I think we just pull, yeah, it just came off nice and easy. Then there is a metal clamp in there that's gonna hold this on. So just take it off the old pad. Yep. All right, so I put the metal clamp on the actual sensor first and then pushed in the pad, and that worked out a lot better. Just put the pad on here, drop the sensor in between the caliper here. Once you get the pad pushed into the cylinder here, just make sure you actually also look at these. Make sure they're not really hard to move or frozen up there. If they are, just push this pin out and re-grease them. I actually already re-greased them. See, that one works. Actually moves a lot nicer. So that's pretty much what you're gonna wanna make sure these move like this. All right, I'll get my other pad. All right, cool. So that's with the new pad set in there. I'm actually gonna set this down for a second and then put the rotor on. So here's the new rotor. Usually come in plastic, thing like this. Right now, like I said earlier, as you can maybe kind of see, they oil these just so they don't rust. You're gonna wanna get that film of oil off of there before you put it on the car. So just use some car cleaner, spray these down, and then just wipe that oil off. All right, then we're just gonna get that screw from earlier, that T30, and put that back in there. All right, now we're gonna grab the old bracket and put that back on. And grab your two 21mm bolts. Now that we got the 13mm, the two ones on the sliders back here and in Titan, we're gonna have to put this, this little clip back on. And that's it. Now she's on. Next, you're gonna wanna put the, don't forget to put the wear sensor back on. This kind of clips nicely under the caliper here. And comes on over. There's actually a little thing that this goes through on the bleeder valve. So that was like that. Push that back onto the bleeder valve. And we're gonna grab the plug. You can go ahead and plug this in too. All right, that's plugged in. We'll push it back in the bracket this way. And then spinner back into place. just like that. It's pretty easy. All right, once you get the wheel on and all the lug nuts in there, just make sure to snug them a little bit before you actually lower the car and put the weight on it. And then we will re-snug them once it's sitting on the ground. All right, so I actually put this all back together, put the wheel on and lowered it back down. Notice that my brake sensor light came on. So this is the wire that was in the brake pad there. The way it's designed is that eventually if the pad gets low enough, it will wear this wire down and break this connection. Mine actually was on the verge of breaking, and since I was just messing around with it and put it back onto the pad, it actually broke that connection, so now my light's on. You can buy another one of these plugs and wires to then put back on your pad here for another wear sensor. Or what I'm actually gonna do is just reconnect these two wires myself, so the light's not on. All right, so I just turned the car around just because I have more room on this side. Just gonna loosen the lug nuts, jack the car up, put the jack stand under here, and then do the exact same thing that we did on the other side on this side. I'm in the middle of doing the passenger side now, and I just wanted to make it clear that the brake pad wear sensor is only on the driver's side. I just noticed that this plug is going to nothing and it's just capped off, so you only have a wear sensor on the driver's side. All right, so now the front brakes are done on the car. And just before I went to the back, I wanted to just kind of remind you guys, if you were buying a wear sensor, you only need to buy one because there's only one wear sensor on the driver's side. Also the brake rotors and pads that I used, I'm gonna put a link for the pads, rotors, and also the wear sensor in the description, just so you guys can go ahead and get it there and know that it's gonna work on your car. So if you guys are also changing the rear brakes and pads and rotors on the rear of the car, you guys can go right to my next video, and I'll have me doing the rear brakes also.